Today on Commander Replay, we check out this GoFundMe submitted Homura Human Ascendant list and see how it compares against some higher power decks. Next on Commander Replay. Hey guys, be sure to check out my GoFundMe if you want to submit decks for me to play or do one-on-one deck reviews. Check the link in the description below. Welcome back everyone. Got a GoFundMe submitted deck today playing Homura Human Ascendant, and today's deck list comes to us from Quentin. Take a look at this opening hand. We've got 2 lands, Felwar Stone, Commander Sphere. Seems okay. I'd like to draw some more lands. I know this is a low land count deck and that does make me a little bit nervous, but Commander Sphere gives us a redraw. We got a little bit of ramp. Things seem okay. Hopefully we catch a 3rd and 4th land pretty soon. I did make a couple small tweaks to the deck before the game, so I'll go over those right now. First, the easy one is I just switched to basic mountains because snow-covered mountains are a little bit more than I would like them to be on Magic Online. Another one was Seasoned Pyromancer is incredibly expensive on Magic Online, so I switched that to a Legion Warboss, a card that's been doing a ton of work for me in Winota. This could also be a Goblin Rabblemaster. Legion Warboss is a little bit cheaper in paper if cost is a concern, but both have been pretty good. Oh, opponent's going to start off with a turn 1 Exploration. That's pretty good. I think 1 or 2 other small changes. There was a Thrill of Possibility in the deck and a Wild Guess in the deck. I've never been a huge fan of those. We still have a little bit of looting with Faithless Looting. In my opinion, I like to be going up in card count as opposed to just kind of cycling the deck. I mean, there's a little bit of value to both, but Wild Guess feel a little bit underwhelming to me. So what I did, I added a Hazoret's Monument. Gives you cost reduction and repeatable looting. It's going to be pretty good, I think. And I added an Armillary Sphere in place of Wild Guess because 33 lands makes me a little bit nervous. I'd like to see a higher land count, so Armillary Sphere is just one way to prevent ourselves from getting stuck. So just a couple quick changes before the game just to try and have a little bit of success. Make sure we don't get land stuck, while just trying to play the game. So anyway, that brings it to our turn 1. There's a land off the top. That does make me feel a lot better about things. Go ahead, play this mountain. I guess we'll leave it untapped since we do have a Pyroblast, just in case Urza wants to get a little bit silly on their turn 1. We'll see what happens there. So let's take a look at what Homura actually does. Oh, that's a Soul Ring for opponent. Those are pretty good. And there comes an Endless one for X2. Homura is a 6-mana 4/4 out of one of the Kamigawa sets. I can't even see the set symbol now. So Homura can't block, but when it dies, return it to the battlefield flipped. It is a 4/4 on its front side. And when it flips over, oh, this is going to be hard to see. On its flipped over side, it becomes a legendary enchantment that says, creatures you control have +2/+2 and flying, and each of them gain fire breathing. So pretty cool for a red token deck. I've seen it a couple times over the years that I've been playing Commander, and it can be reasonably powerful. It's not necessarily combo-y like Neheb or crazy in the way that Heartless Hit Isugu is, but if you just want a nice go-wide red aggressive Commander, it's a very solid option. And the fact that it becomes an enchantment means that it's fairly durable, and just playing like a normal creature board wipe against it doesn't necessarily solve the problem, so it's a cool little Commander. I'm excited to play it today. And some stuff happening while we're talking. We got an Endless one coming down for our opponent, and then we've got a million lands for this Ghired and Lifecrafter's Bestiary now in play. There's another land off the top. I do like these lands. Eventually we're going to stop drawing lands, and these will probably be all the lands we look at, because low land count deck, like I said, makes me nervous. Anyway, drop that mountain, play this Felwar Stone right here. And we've got, let's see, we've got five colors of mana? We've got 5 colors of mana on this Felwar Stone. Pretty cool. So let's take a look at what our opponents are playing today. First up, we've got Chaotix 2075 piloting Biollante Plant Beast Form. Is 2, kind of a weird name, 2 in Abzan for a 5/5, and it mutates for 4 in Abzan. It has Death Touch and Lifelink. Whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It just occurred to me that this is Nethroi, is the actual name of the commander. Oh, right. Yep, Nethroi right there. Ha, ha, ha. Reading the cards. Who reads the cards? So we got a Nethroi deck out of Chaotix today. He said that it is rather fun. We'll see what he is up to. He does drop down a Phyrexian Reclamation. Actually, I think I know what he's up to. I think he's playing all the creatures that have 0 power. So, like, when he mutates Nethroi, he will probably get a million things back to play. Seems pretty good. That's been something I've been interested in checking out myself. So, yeah, we'll see what kind of spicy creatures he's got for us. Moving on, we've got Mugen 80 piloting Urza Lord High Artificer. They said this isn't a completely full power Urza deck, because, like, full power Urza is, like, basically CEDH. But it's still going to be pretty strong. They said it was watered down just a little bit, but it's still going to be fairly potent, I think. It's a strong card. It's a super strong card. I haven't actually seen tons and tons of Urza. I saw a little bit of the CDH versions for a little bit, but I actually didn't see it have that much success because everyone just figured out, oh, shoot Urza, and don't let them do what they're trying to do, and then, things go poorly for them after that. But they do have a Hedron Crawler into play. And finally, we have 7/10 life piloting Ghired Conclave Exile, and they're going to cast their commander, and that's going to create a 4/4 Rhino creature token. I've heard one of the tricks to slowing down this deck is actually shooting the Rhino token. Ooh, that's a Gaia's Cradle. Oh my. Yeah, things are starting to spiral a bit quickly. We don't have a board wipe in hand. We do have a Siege Gang commander, but that's going to be slow. That's a Mana Vault. Mana Vault is a card that speeds you up. That is the thing that we need. So I think we go on the big ramp turn this turn. So play the Mountain, play the Commander Sphere, and then play the Mana Vault. Leaves us with a little bit of extra mana. And then we'll figure out what we're trying to do next turn. I'm hoping someone's got some removal for the Ghired. Maybe even the Gaia's Cradle. I would love a Volcanic Offering right now. Volcanic Offering would make me so, so happy. Here's a Yahenni Undying Partisan. Yep, it's pretty good. So Quentin did say he was trying to make this deck a bit stronger, get it to compete in some higher power metas. One thing that'll come up as you get to higher power metas is your ability to answer things. Do we counter the Urza? We can always destroy it if it becomes a problem. Like, it's not a problem yet, so they don't have a million zero-cost artifacts in play, so we can let this resolve, and then we can Pyroblast it later if they drop a Winter Orb or something like that. Here's a 2/2 Construct. Yep. I think we're already kind of getting to a place where, like, a board wipe is probably going to have to happen with this Ghired deck, so, save this Pyroblast if we can, if there's a Cyclonic Rift or something nasty like that. But yeah, one of the things that comes up as you get to higher power metas is you need to be able to interact. I feel that most decks in that higher power setting right now are trying to be really proactive, and if you can stop that, then... Ooh... That's an Arasta of the Endless Web. That's a pretty good card. Yeah, we're... who's got a board wipe? Anyways, higher power metas are interesting because when you look at something like CEDH, there's a fairly narrow range of stuff that you can expect, and, like, you can build to anticipate a few different things happening. In a higher power setting, there's still a very wide range of stuff that can happen, and it is really important to be able to answer your opponent's threats. But the problem is that your opponent's threats will be highly varied. So, like, this Ghired deck is, I'm going to call this like a classic green deck, where it's just going to spit a million creatures onto the battlefield. And for that, you want creature removal. Creature removal, pretty easy to come by in most colors. Urza, on the other hand, is going to require a little bit of a different touch. Blue decks in general, you're going to be looking at more combo-based stuff. You probably need to interact a bit more on the stack. Stuff like this Pyroblast. Creature deck like Nethroi, that's where you want your graveyard removal. Black decks, you have to watch out for Torment of Hailfire, mana doublers, things like that. So there's this really wide range of things that can happen in higher power settings. So you're really going to want some really broad forms of removal. There's a Mountain. Play the Mountain. Since I think we're already into this board wipe or bust type situation... What does Siege Gang get done for us? We play Siege Gang. How much mana do we actually have? That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're up to 9. So we could have 2 activations on a Siege Gang. Doesn't kill Ghired. Could kill the Rhino, but they've already got a second one. I think that puts me on Homura. That allows us to get something done, but without having to necessarily overcommit to a board wipe. Now, I'm not convinced one is necessarily coming, but I still think it's a decent play right here. Opponent's already so far ahead that, like, I think it's going to be tough for us to catch them. Anyway, higher power games get interesting because you have to really balance out this line of being able to slow your opponents down while also being able to be really proactive yourself. So, like, the second you do slow them down, that's when you need to slam your stuff. So, now, what I have seen from Homura decks in the past, they subscribe to a notion that I heavily subscribe to, which is player removal is the best removal. This is the type of deck where it's not going to be a control deck ever. If you have just a couple key pieces to slow your opponents down, if we could wipe the board right here, Blasphemous Act would be huge. Not sure if it's in the deck, I didn't look. But yeah, Blasphemous Act would be really good right here. Then after that, it's just put your foot on the gas and try to slam as many creatures as you can and take them out before your opponents can rebuild. And, it's a reasonable game plan. Endless One and Yahenni into the Ghired. Nope, changes their mind. Endless One into the Urza. Interesting choice. Oh, I see. He's got the... So, Chaotix dropped down a Grim Harry-Spec, so I think he's ready to trade one of those in to draw a card. Makes sense. But he can also sack stuff to Yahenni if he just wants to cycle that way. Doesn't seem awful. So when people talk about banning Mana Rocks, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, stuff like that, one of the problems becomes Exploration is still a problem. You'd have to ban Exploration along with those. Burgeoning also. Those cards on turn 1 cause exactly the problem we're looking at here. A Ghired opponent with a ton of creatures in play, a Gaia's Cradle, and the ability to get even more stuff. So, yeah. Fast mana. Fast mana is a thing. In the fast mana category, though, I am strangely okay with Mana Vault. The fact that it only does it once. Sure, it's a little burst of mana, but it's not this repeatable source of mana like Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Exploration are, so I feel that one would be okay to stay. But that's just my personal take on it. Opponent activates their Mystic Forge, exiles an island. So, I mean, I have to say that, like, when they did the flip cards for Innistrad, they definitely got that right, because these flip cards in Kamigawa are just awful to read. If you look at them quickly, it's just, like, hard enough to tell which side is even up. I get it, there's a casting cost on one side, but, like, ugh, these things are just a mess to look at. Doubling Season, oh my. We in trouble. We in trouble. Whew. Urza's got an Arcane Denial for that Doubling Season. Yeah, that's going to be big. That's going to allow us to, like, not die immediately. We'll give them some card draw. Card draw is not great, but better than what Doubling Season's going to do. At least slows it down a bit. So I think this is going to be our proactive turn. I think we need to get Hainware, Garrison, and Siege Gang Commander onto the battlefield. Hopefully we got enough for both without having to use the Mana Vault. I don't know if that's probably not true. We've got 6 without it, so we probably have to use the Vault. It'd be 8 to cast both of those. Opponent doing some attacking, realizing that Homura can't block, so send in a couple our way. They're going to get to populate, and right now their best is a 4/4 Rhino. I forget if I talked about this before, but while I was doing the webcam games, someone brought a Ghired deck, and they made a super cool line of play that I just have to talk about right here. So they're playing Ghired. I had flipped over Elbrus the Binding Blade into Withingar Unbound. I was playing my Legendary Blades deck, and they played a Hate Mirage on it, making a token copy of Withingar, and then populated that token copy, so now that the populated token doesn't get sacrificed at the end of turn because the Hate Mirage token does. And there was a Tristani in play while this happened, so they gained a ton of life. So they ended up getting themselves a permanent Withingar, gained a bunch of life off of it. It was just a really cool line of play. Has made me pretty excited about trying Hate Mirage in a Ghired deck, so I hope to be able to do something similar one day. Opponent's going to block with Urza. Yep, those will bounce. We go down to 30. Chaotix at 31, Mugen at 27, and 710 at 36. Farhaven Elf for opponent, and that'll trigger the Lifecrafter's Bestiary. They've got some floating mana. Opponent casts some Swiftfoot Boots, put some boots on the Ghired. Yep. It's going to bring it back to our turn. Opponents will draw off the Arcane Denial. We have a Mana Vault trigger, but it's untapped. That's an Atali. No haste, though. Here's the trickiness. We're already in a situation where the board needs to get wiped. Being that no one had it last turn, they would have to draw into it. I think we try Atali. How much total mana do we have? That's going to be 3, 4, plus 5 is 9 total. So we could go Atali, Hainware, and then leave up Pyroblast. Probably could have did this a little bit differently, but Homura can't block. I would love to get it killed somewhere. Since it can't block, I'm just going to send it into the Ghired opponent. Either it'll eat a token or eat something small, or they'll take 4. Yep, so they'll block with the Farhaven Elf. One less creature if an overrun or a Crater Hoof happens. Fine with me. That will trigger Yahenni. Yahenni gets bigger. Cast the Hainware Garrison, pass the turn, leave up the Pyroblast, just in case. If the board were to get bounced, I would let that resolve in a heartbeat. But if they were going to try to, like, Treachery or Atali, that's something that I would counter. And Chaotix just going to send everything into the Ghired opponent. Yeah, I think we're on the player removal is the best removal plan right now. So that's going to eat another token. So at least if we can, like, trim back their resources just a teeny bit. Chaotix sacrifices their Endless One, so that'll trigger the Grim Harry specs. Triggers the Yahenni. Gives Yahenni indestructible until end of turn. I'm going to be pretty sad if I just cast this Atali into a board wipe. That's a Survival of the Fittest. That's a real card. Survival into, like, Fleshbag Marauder would be okay. Wouldn't solve everything, but slows everything down, trims back stuff. Would allow us to get our Homura out of play. Shriek Maw, maybe not awful. What'd they go for? Oh, they went for a Walking Ballista. Okay, now just go straight for that combo. Okay, I see what's happening. Opponent's going to return the Endless One with the Phyrexian Reclamation, loses 2 life. Endless One back to play for X2. Yep. Decent plays right there, decent plays. Set himself up to potentially combo the Walking Ballista. Don't know that we have anything for that. We need a hit so incredibly big on this Atali. Mirrored and Besieged for the Urza. Again, doesn't do that much yet, but if it becomes a problem, we can Pyroblast. Which mode did they go? They chose Phyrexian. Phyrexian is at the beginning of your end step, draw a card and discard a card. If there are 15 or more artifacts in your graveyard, target opponent loses the game. I did lose to that trigger once. Only 1 card in graveyard for opponent currently, so they'd have some work to do before that becomes super threatening. Opponents can activate the Urza ability, and let's see what they hit. Shuffle the library, exile the top card, until end of turn, play it without paying its mana cost. It's an efficient construction. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Yep, it's going to be good for that deck. End step, Mirrored and Besieged trigger, opponent will get the loot. That's a Dockside Extortionist for opponent. That's going to get a little bit of mana. They can draw a card off the Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Yep. 10 treasure tokens for opponent. That is so much mana, on top of their Cradle mana. We need to hope they don't have an X-Spell. If they have an X-Spell, it's probably just over. Any sort of like additional card draw would be really bad. Lifecrafters is already pretty bad. Anything big is trouble. Helm of the Host. Helm of the Host is trouble. Gonna equip the Helm of the Host to the Ghired. Yep. Note that Lifecrafters is a cast trigger, not a ETB trigger. So at least the tokens won't get them more card draw. But Great Henge is an ETB trigger, and that card's pretty ridiculous. That's an Achroma's Memorial. That is so bad for what we're doing. Oh, hope someone's got a counter for that. Wow. Heliod's Intervention on Phyrexian Reclamation, Survival of the Fittest, and Mirrored and Besieged. Doesn't hit any of our stuff, so that's good news. Those go down. Opponent's down to 1 card in hand, so as bad as it is, and it is bad, at least they're almost out of cards. But this Helm of the Host is going to produce a lot more power on board. And will put us firmly into the... Ooh, Blasphemous Act doesn't even do it right here. Achroma's Memorial. That's not good. We don't really have a path in either. Flying Vigilance, Protection from Red is super problematic. We're going to need to catch something off someone else's library with Atali. Let's just take a peek to see what our removal situation looks like. Mog Infestation is fine, but doesn't really solve the problem. Chandra's doesn't help with the thing down. Release the Gremlins looks like our only piece of artifact removal. Eee. Yeah, we in some trouble. We are in some trouble. That's 2 Ghired Populate triggers. Yep, and everything's got Vigilance, so don't really have a way in over there. Chaotix goes down to 4. He's in a bad spot. Mana Vault trigger on us. Faithless Looting is a card. There's no Blasphemous Act in this deck. I don't think we have a way out of this situation at all. Does Siege Gang Commander even help? Not in the first main. What we can do, we can send the Homura into a... Yeah, let's go to attacks first. Homura into the Ghired opponent. Hopefully they block. Send Atali into the Urza and Hainware into the Urza. This will at least allow us to get something going. So let's get that Atali trigger, see what we hit. Hope for big stuff. Board wipe. Rampacious One and Urza's Bauble. Eee. Not what I was looking to do there. Cast the Bauble. Cast the Rapacious One. Get our tokens. Send those into Urza as well. Opponent will block a token. Yep. Opponent will chump block the Homura. Makes me sad. Yahenni gets a counter. We'll sacrifice the Bauble to take a look at 710's hand. See their last card. It's an Explosive Vegetation. It's fairly safe. Next, these cards don't help us that much, so Faithless Looting. That'll trigger Arasta. Yep. They get a Spider token. Red Elemental Blast doesn't help at all, so ditch Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. Play the Mountain. I mean, basically, I think that just puts us down to Siege Gang Commander. I guess we cast Siege Gang Commander. We can flash back the thing next turn, but if sacrificing Commander Sphere could get us into anything useful, I would do it, but at this moment, it doesn't. We really need opponents to do some stuff, so. And that's actually why I don't care for Faithless Looting that much. Some decks, if it's a graveyard deck, sure, but in a like non-graveyard mono red deck like this, we actually went down a card casting it that first time. Now, you'll get some value back if you do it again, but it's not where I love to be. And I don't play a lot of Faithless Looting in my red decks. That's a Solemn Simulacrum. Solemn Simulacrum, if we can get it flying, is actually a blocker and another piece of card draw. That's a Protean Hulk. Chaotic's going to win. Sacrifices the Protean Hulk. Grimhair Specs will trigger. Yahenni will trigger. What does he get? He gets Zulaport Cutthroat, Cruel Celebrant, Hangerback Walker, and a whole bunch of creatures with 0 power just went to the graveyard. Oh, this is going to be interesting. So here's all the things that just went to his graveyard. There's the Protean Hulk, Phyrexian Marauder, Shifting Wall, Protean Hydra, Stonecoil Serpent, Ivy Elemental, Ugin's Conjurant, and Hangerback Walker. That's a lot of triggers. All right. Let's see who's still alive. Is this one targeted or is this each opponent? That's an each opponent. Oh, everyone's life is going to be super low. We are at 29 and Ghired is at 31, so anything that would kill them would kill us. It's unfortunate. That's a cool trick, though. Chaotix is going to gain pretty decent amount of life. Urza survives at 1. Just enough life left to hang in there. Wouldn't survive an attack, though. I would probably leave them alive, because there's a lot of problems on board. Now, if Chaotix had the mana to mutate right here, he'd be doing some pretty serious stuff. In fact, that would probably just win him the game. Took a big old chunk out of everyone else. We're down to 15, Mugen at 1, and Ghired down to 17. Problem is, I don't know if any of us can survive this next Ghired attack unless some mass bounce happens. There's a Felwar Stone, Efficient Construction for opponent. Gets a token. Opponent casts a Sorceress Spyglass. I really wish that card hit mana abilities. That would be so good for CDH if it did. Tribute Mage for opponent. Yep. Opponent grabbed a Torpor Orb. That's not a bad one. That's not a bad one. Did wish they cast it right there. Opponent gets a Scry with the Life Crafters on their upkeep. But I don't know how any of us survive right here. There's, what, 5 Ghired's in play? Or at least there will be when they go to combat? Eesh. So opponent going on the big attack right here. I have to imagine they have enough to take all of us out. That's a lot of 4/4s. They all have Flying, Vigilance, and Trample. And opponent's going to make a bunch more tokens. Yeah, this is easy lethal. Unless someone fogs. I'm going to draw with the Commander Sphere just to take a look. Nope, Kazul. Not the most helpful. If we had it in play, I mean, it would make a bunch of tokens, but it wouldn't really solve anything else. Yep, opponent wins the game right there. Yeah, just no removal, so those are always the kind of games that frustrate me a bit, where it's just first one to slam a threat wins the game. And that is a product of no removal. Seems to happen a lot more on Magic Online than it does in paper. Partly a shuffler thing, partly a way people have their deck built kind of thing. A little bit of both. Anyway, that makes this game a very good learning example of what happens when you don't interact with your opponents. The deck's creator is trying to push this deck into a higher power setting, and when you get to that setting, it is crucial that you interact with your opponents. And one of the things I noticed is that once that Chroma's Memorial came down, we have literal one card in the deck to deal with it. This Release the Gremlins. So that's not where you want to be. You need to be able to interact a little bit better than that. So there's a few things I want to clean up with this deck. But I did decide to split it into a second video just because of the duration. So be sure to check out part 2 of the series where I do a deep dive into what we need to do to fix this deck up and get it to compete a little bit better against some stronger decks. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching. I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. Also, be sure to use the TCG affiliate player link if you're planning on buying Ikoria, Commander 20, or M21 cards, because it helps support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything.